So I don't know if anybody can hear me. I'm pretty sure you can. My microphone is set up. I am doing this way different than I typically do. We're doing a live tonight on YouTube because I'm going to do a homemade chocolate cake. I'm getting ready to make some cake. It'll be my dessert for the week, essentially. So this is a really easy recipe. I will write the recipe down in the description if you're catching this not live. I don't even know if anybody's here yet. There's nobody here. So if you are watching this later, you might want to fast forward a little bit to get to the actual recipe. I would have been on time, but I had to run to the store and get sugar. And wouldn't you know it? I went to the store to get sugar, and of course they had a problem at the checkout. They had that one guy that has to have a problem. And you're freaking kidding me, man. But now I'm cold and irritated. So I started a little bit earlier than I normally do. Normally I start at like 7. But since I'm making a cake with frosting, you can't really just slap the frosting on as soon as the cake is done, because if you try to do that, you will mess up your frosting. It'll melt. It won't be good. So we gotta do it a little bit differently. Hey Sarah, you made it. I'm gonna try to bring my computer. This is a completely different setup than I'm used to for my YouTubes or for my lives, other than on my Patreon. There, is that better? All right. Well, I don't know if it's better for you, but it's better for me. All right. So I just have. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Here we go. It'd be nice when I don't have to deal with all this stuff. Anyway, so I just have a pan. That's all we got right now. So we always start with the dry ingredients when it comes to my cakes. So for this particular recipe, you need to find my phone. I know it's here somewhere. That's where my recipe is. Man, I'm sure today's not Monday. If I hadn't had to run halfway across town just to get some sugar that I thought I had. I'm missing 3 pounds of sugar. So I have 3 pounds of sugar somewhere here, but I have no idea where it's at. Now I'm missing my phone. So I have to use my other phone. Lordy, lordy, lordy. Talk about disorganized. Probably because I'm an hour early. If I'd have been an hour later, it would have been fine. I'm sure. All right. I gotta find my phone. Hold on. We need my phone. I set it down somewhere. I hear it ringing. Good thing I had 2 phones. If I didn't have 2 phones, I wouldn't have my recipe. I keep looking over there, and that's because my camera's here, but the screen is over there. So I don't have a very fancy setup. I don't have money for all that shit. So, all right, let's get my recipe back up. There we go. All right, so we're going to mix our dry ingredients. We need 1 cup of flour, unlike the brownies. I think we're going to do brownies next week because we did it live on TikTok, but TikTok doesn't save us. We're going to do a cup of flour. And then we need a cup of sugar. Now, the original recipe that I had when I got this, I don't know where Mom got it. And she's not around for me to ask anymore. But the original recipe called for 1/3 of a cup of cocoa powder. But I don't use cocoa powder anymore. I use cacao powder. So I use organic cacao. This is essentially chocolate without all the... this is essentially cocoa before it gets turned into cocoa. So cocoa is made from the cacao bean. I'm actually going to be doing a video here pretty soon showing you how to make the healthiest cup of hot chocolate you've ever made using cacao. All right. So we're going to get 1/3 of a cup of cacao. It's definitely more expensive than cocoa, but it's significantly better for you too because it's not been processed. Now it calls for 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I never measured the salt. I mean, I'm not going to put too much in it. So I just sprinkle some salt in it. And you mix all your dry ingredients. You really want to make sure that they're blended pretty well before you get your liquid stuff poured in. So no, I don't use a mixer. I mean, I have one, but it's just more dishes I have to wash. So I'd rather just wash a whisk, to be fair. Anybody catch that video I did today? I did the video about 7-Up today. Anybody catch that? Well, no, you can't see what I'm making. I can only do so much, Sarah. Jeepers criminy. Look, do you not see what I have here? I have a problem. So that's what I'm making. All I did was take the dried stuff. So I put a cup of flour, a cup of sugar, 1/3 of cup of cacao. I use cacao. And then I just sprinkled some salt in and then I mixed it up. So I don't have a real fancy system where I've got 6 different cameras where I can cut from angle to angle. You know, I mean, you kind of got to visualize that I'm mixing it with a blender. All right. So it looks like that now, where it's all just one color, right? And you just set it aside. Well, I usually do my little crater in the middle. I don't know if any of you guys do that. Maybe it's just because I'm picky and I don't like things stuck on the side until I'm ready for it, right? Now we need our liquid stuff. So what I'm going to do for that, the recipe calls, here's the other thing that I add to mine. Hold on, be patient. All right. So here's what the recipe calls for the liquids. You need 1/3 of a cup of oil. I'm going to use olive oil. You can use melted butter. I prefer oil. It gives the cake a better texture than the butter does. Then you're going to use a teaspoon of vanilla. And again, I'm going to write this down in the description. Then you need a teaspoon of vinegar. Now, the vinegar is going to actually activate the baking powder. I forgot the teaspoon of baking powder. Wait, is it baking powder or baking soda? It's relevant. It's baking powder. Nope, that's cocoa powder. Baking soda, not baking powder. We're going to use a teaspoon of baking soda. They're pretty much the same thing. Baking soda is the byproduct or what's left over of baking powder when baking powder goes bad. But what's going to happen is the baking soda is going to react with the vinegar, which is what's going to make the cake fluffy. So this isn't going to be a heavy cake like a lot of cakes are. So just a teaspoon of baking soda. Here, Sarah, for you. Sprinkle it in. Okay, there. So today I did the video on the history of 7-Up is what I talked about today. Because a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the carbonated beverages that were made in the past, get out of there. A lot of carbonated beverages that were made in the past were actually made as remedies. And most of the carbonated ones were specific for like digestive issues. Because digestion, well, at least the way they used to carbonate things, they used to do it by fermentation. So that ferment would go to help, because it's probiotics, it would go to help build the gut health, to help the digestive system. And of course, people being people, we just couldn't leave well enough alone, so we turned it into a casual soda drink that's loaded with sugar and other crap. All right, so we're going to do 1/3 cup of oil, a teaspoon of vanilla, a teaspoon of vinegar, 1/2 cup of milk. And the reason why we're waiting is I'm waiting for my coffee to heat up. Now, the other ingredient is 1/2 cup of hot water, but I don't use water. I use 1/2 cup of coffee. Now, what the coffee is going to do is it's going to activate the chocolate, and it's going to make the chocolate more chocolatey. You won't taste the coffee in it at all, but it's going to be super chocolatey. Like, it'll be more of a rich chocolatey flavor. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm waiting for my coffee to heat up enough, because it has to be hot when you put it in there. It's the heat and the acidity from the coffee. The pH of the coffee is going to release a lot of those, what are called flavonoids, or the flavor compounds that are in the cacao, which is going to make it more of, it's going to be really good. Really, really tasty. All right. So it's heating up now. While that's heating up, let's go. We need oil. Looks like I'm almost out of oil. I have to buy some more. Of course, always running out of things. Need 1/3 cup of oil. Once you get to this part where you're starting to add your liquid, now's a good time to preheat your oven. So if you're using a smaller oven, like I'm using a smaller oven and I'm using a smaller cake pan, so I'm going to put it on 325. But if you're using like a regular oven, like a conventional oven, then it's going to be 350. That's the secret to if you're using small ovens. My big oven has a safety switch in the back that's bad, and I have the safety switch, but I don't want to pull it out of the wall. It's one of those in-wall ovens. I have to actually manhandle it out of the wall, tear the back of the oven apart, put the switch back. I don't want to do that. So I live by myself, so I mean there really isn't any point in what? There really isn't any point. Move. In having a big oven, because I don't make that kind of food for myself, to be fair. All right. I'm more of a practical kind of person. If I don't use it, like I don't heat my living room in the winter because I don't use my living room really. I'm either at work, or when I'm not at work, I come home and I work some more. I'm either doing videos or I'm packaging items. All right. So what did I say? Oh yeah, we need 1/3 cup of oil. But no, I'm not going to be able to show you as I mix it. I don't think. I'll try, but I don't think I can. So there's my 1/3 cup of oil. We need some vanilla extract, just a teaspoon. We need, move, Pepper. Need our 1/2 cup of milk. I forgot the vinegar. We need the vinegar. Definitely need the vinegar. So I'm just using my apple cider vinegar that I made, but you can use any kind of vinegar you want. Oh, I bet that was really loud. That was right next to the microphone. Sorry. So I'm just going to use, this is the homemade apple cider vinegar. That's not floaties in there. That's the mother that you see there. I'm actually getting ready to do another apple cider vinegar video, and I'm going to use the mother to jumpstart the process. So you just use a teaspoon. That's going to activate the baking soda, right? Which is going to make it rise. Because you want a fluffy cake. You don't want it, if you wanted a brownie, you'd do a little bit different recipe. 1/2 cup of milk. Half a cup of milk. And then 1/2 cup of hot coffee. Now you're going to want to save some of that coffee. Don't use it all. All right, so here's my 1/2 cup of coffee. 1/2 cup. All right, here you go, Sarah. This is just for you. I'm going to try. If I make a mess, it's your fault, though. You get to come clean it up. All right, let's get this vinegar out of the way. It smells really good as soon as I added the coffee. All right, so you just mix it up. It'll turn really dark too. Darkens right up. I usually let the batter sit for a few minutes because I haven't heated the oven yet. All right. So the batter's mixed up. Good enough for it's for. Wait, 325. So the next thing you're going to want to do, unless you're using a non-stick pan, which I don't use those. Like I don't like Teflon. This stuff's terrible for you. So you can either use a glass dish. I have an old school one. Not sure exactly what it's made of, but it's got to be better than Teflon, right? Maybe. As long as it's not uranium. Because they had depleted uranium products back then too, I guess. All right, so my batter's made and it's sitting. We don't want it to sit super long, but we have to do the next part of the process. So I'm going to see if I can get the camera to point down at you. I'm going to see if I can get the camera to point down at this. Show you my method of doing this. So I just take some oil. Hold on, let me grab a paper towel. All right, so let's see if I can do this. I think I can because this camera's light. It's not as heavy as my phone. Here we go. There we go. Hey, that's not so bad. All right, there we go. So you put the oil in the bottom of the pan, get a paper towel, and you want to coat it as well as possible. Now, this is not the only step. This is just one of the steps. Make sure you get it in the corners there, because if you don't, you'll be sorry. Paint it on there. Don't worry about it if it's too thick, because we're going to fix that here in a minute. All right, so now that we've got it all nice and covered, you see how shiny and covered it is? Now we're going to ruin that. For those of you who don't bake or have never baked before, this is called flouring your pan. So you're going to sprinkle some flour in there. Shake it around at first. Flour is going to coat everything. This is going to prevent the brownie or help to prevent the brownie from sticking. If you missed a spot like I did there, you want to touch it up. You want to make sure that there's no oil or that there's oil in those places. Like if it doesn't stick, there's not enough oil there. So I touched it up on purpose because I want to make sure that because otherwise it'll stick and it's a pain in the butt to get out. So you just kind of pat it all the way around. That corner there, I know it has oil in it, so I'm not as worried about it. For whatever reason, that corner always does that to me. But you really want to get that flour up as high as you can on the sides, okay? Because the cake is going to rise. I'm using a 6x9 cake, but you can use a 9x13. That's going to be fine. I don't trust this, so I'm going to put some oil in there. I've been on the receiving end of having that stick. There we go. All right, that's a little better. So you see how it's nice and covered? We got a nice light dusting. Take your excess flour and put it back. You don't need it. So there, that's what my pan looks like. It's covered. All right. Then you're going to take your batter. You're going to take your batter and you're going to put it in the bowl. Sorry, I had to prep things up. Oh, that's good. Just pour it in. Nice rich batter. It's a little hard doing this from top down. If I didn't have a camera in the way, this would be a lot faster. Moose, you want this? Here, clean that. Morpheus likes it when I make chocolate cake because he gets the lion's share of it. So you're going to take that and you're going to pop it in the oven for 25 to 35 minutes. It's going to be really runny. Don't worry about that. It's supposed to be. All right. All right, so I have the timer set for 25 minutes. Let's see, there we go. I have the timer set for 25 minutes. So within the next 25 minutes, that would be 7:06. The cake will be ready. Now, in the meantime, I guess we can make our frosting now. If you want, we can go ahead and make the frosting now. Okay. Well, this is going to be saved, so you can go back and watch this later. That's the reason why I did this on YouTube tonight rather than TikTok. I normally do lives on TikTok, but in order to save it on TikTok, I have to download the live onto my phone, and my phone doesn't have enough memory space to be taking gigs of space for a live video. YouTube, on the other hand, seems to have all that extra space, so I don't have a problem using YouTube. This way it can be saved. Anybody can come back at a later time and read it. I'm going to put the entire directions, so you don't have to do a screenshot or anything. You can just copy and paste when the rest of it's posted. If it wasn't for the fact that I like my animals so much, I would turn them all into hats and slippers right now because they're under my feet. Go lay down! The cats are under my feet. The dog is under my feet. All right. So for your frosting, you got to do something a bit different. We have to use powdered sugar instead of granulated sugar. So now the recipe calls for like a cup of powdered sugar, but I never really need a whole cup of frosting for that kind of a cake. I mean, it's only 6 by 9 for crying out loud. I don't ever need anything that big. So we're gonna make the frosting, and I'm probably only gonna use about maybe half cup to 3/4 of a cup. I'm not a huge fan of frosting, but to be fair, it does make the cake taste better. Now I'm going to show you what we do with the frosting here. Now this is a butter frosting, just so you know. You got to melt a little bit of butter. Well, you should melt a little bit of butter. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use some of the Land O'Lakes. It's the butter spread. I don't like it with canola oil, but they didn't have any of the olive oil. I hate canola oil. It's terrible for you. Thank God I got an herb for that. The cacao will help antioxidant. It's an antioxidant, so it'll help eliminate a lot of the issues you're going to get. But I don't want to make my own butter and then have to add my own oil and make my. I don't want to make my own spread. I don't have time for that shit. I don't have time. All right, 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. A little bit more than 3/4 of a cup. Oops. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to get the camera so you guys can see it once I get it to that point. Again, I'm just going to use, you only need about a tablespoon or 2 of butter. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but we're adding a couple of other ingredients that's going to thin it out a bit. So at this point, I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons of the spread. The spread is lighter. And the canola oil will actually make it, the canola oil in there or the oil in the butter itself. So I'm just doing about 2 tablespoons. I'm not measuring. I do this to taste. And then you're going to use a tablespoon of the cocoa powder or the cacao powder. Whatever you use. I'm using cacao again. We're going to use just a tablespoon. This isn't a measuring tablespoon, but it's kind of it's an approximate. Once you start making these on a regular basis, if you don't cook a lot, once you start baking a lot on a regular basis, like if you bake a lot of your own cakes, you'll get to the point where you'll be able to kind of eyeball your ingredients. You won't have to measure it every single time. You go, okay, well, last time it was about this much. You eyeball it. You're doing it to taste. It's how you like it. It's not necessary. You don't have to keep to the recipe super strict after you figured out how to make it, if that makes sense. At that point, that's when you kind of go and add your own flair to it. All right, so I need a little bit of vanilla. And we're going to do the same thing with this, but we're not going to, with this that we did with the batter, we're going to add coffee, but we're not going to add a lot of coffee. Maybe a tablespoon. Thinking I have 6 different angles to do this from. What are you thinking, young lady? I'm some sort of freaking tech guru. That helps a little bit. Best I can do for you, Sarah. Sorry. All right, so my butter's in there. You just kind of start blending it. I haven't added the coffee yet. All we're really trying to do here is make sure that the butter's getting mixed in. Now you can melt your butter and it'll actually make this process go a lot faster, to be fair. You can see as I go, it's starting to stick together. So there's your clump of frosting. Trust me, it's going to smooth out. I promise. So we're going to take a little bit of coffee. It's hot, which is good. Add just a touch. That was probably about a teaspoon at most. There it goes. You really want to try to get all those lumps out of it, because what those lumps are lumps of sugar. The butter in it will make it, well, because I used the butter with the oil, it won't get as hard. If you use just plain butter, your frosting is going to harden up, and it won't be as easy to apply. So if that's the issue and you're going to use real butter, feel free to throw in a tablespoon or so of the oil, whatever oil you're using. I'm going to add just a little bit more sugar to that, though. I'm not sure if that's quite enough to do the whole cake. And things like that, you want to be. I don't want to just frost half my cake. That looks silly. So the cayenne capsules should be ready this week, Sarah. So you know, if you were still looking, I had to order the capsules. I didn't want to take the extra expense, to buy the separated capsules. So instead, I bought I just bought the connected capsules. They'll take like 10 times as long because I got to separate everything first before I get everything ready to make them into capsules. It's a lot more labor intensive to make those capsules, to be fair. So I must like you a lot. There we go. Now you see how nice and creamy that is? There. That's a better view of it. See how nice and creamy that is? It's a nice creamy frosting. You can refrigerate it if you want, but if you refrigerate it too long, it will get hard. It makes it a little hard to spread it. I usually like to make sure I have the frosting made while the cake is in the oven. Now, realistically, you have to let it cool off before you put your frosting on it, but we're going to cheat a bit because I'm not waiting up until 10 o'clock at night to frost a cake. So we're going to shorten our cooling time down quite a bit. So there's our frosting. Tastes really good too. I actually considered doing brownies, but then I hate brownies with frosting though. Brownies are sweet enough. Like they've got twice the sugar of cake. So adding frosting to brownies seems like overkill. It seems like that's like fudge. Like it's too rich for me. I can't do it. I don't eat fudge either. Not that I don't like fudge. I like fudge. I just don't eat it because it is so rich that just a bite or two at most, and I'm almost overwhelmed. Not because I'm some sort of weirdo natural food guy. It's just it's always been too rich for me. I've never really cared for fudge. It's not one that I typically go and hunt for. Let's put it that way. All right, take the sugar back up. So now the house smells like chocolate. Everything is cooking, and it's just a waiting game. At this point, we've got about 14 minutes. So it took us about 12 minutes to make the frosting. Only took about 15 minutes really to mix the ingredients. So is it a little labor intensive? Yeah, I suppose. I mean, no more so than other things. It's better for you. I mean, it's better than going and buying a Hershey bar. So once you make your own cakes like this, you don't really want to buy store-bought. Like I don't like processed sugar now. I don't like candy bars and things like that. They don't have the same flavor. Once you start making your own. I even considered doing cinnamon rolls again, but I'll probably save that for like after Christmas, before New Year's. We'll do cinnamon rolls. Because that's a labor intensive. That's like a 2-hour video. But we'll do it live and we'll turn it into a chat session. But the cinnamon rolls we're gonna make are the Cinnabon clones. They're gonna be big and fat and puffy, and we're gonna make the frosting. We're gonna make it all. So they're really good. I don't make them very often because I don't have anybody to really share them with. I have coworkers, but I don't know that I like them enough to be giving them big old cinnamon rolls. So which means that the only person left to eat those is me. I don't want to eat 12 cinnamon rolls. I mean, I do want to eat 12 cinnamon rolls, but I really don't want to eat 12 cinnamon rolls. I do love me some cinnamon rolls. They're amazing. They're the best. Let's see. Yeah, I got to separate the capsules because when I get them, I get them like this. As you can see, they're all connected. I have to separate 400 of these first. Separate containers, and then put the ones in the machine, fill them up. So, yeah, I did that just for you, to be fair. Because I remembered you wanted more. I had some capsules. Like, I have enough capsules to make myself small batches, right? But I didn't have enough to make a big for it. Because I don't, for my store, I don't make batches of 24 capsules. Not when I'm selling them in bags of 60. So, I have to make 400 at a time. So that only gives me 6 batches per load, to be fair. But there have been times when customers have come to my store and they're like, I need this capsule, and I've made them quick. I can make them quick if I'm in a rush, and especially if they're already separated. Like I normally buy them separated, but they're almost double the cost for the capsules if I buy them separated. But if you look at double the cost of the capsules or twice the amount of time to do it, 3 times the amount of time to do it, which is more cost effective over time. Clearly the separated ones are, but they are significantly more expensive. I can make a couple orders. Yeah. Well, I mean, you're going to have at least 6 bags available when I'm done. So, because I'll be making 400, and then I separate those into bags of 60. So, you'll have 6 to choose from. That's what I don't normally tell people is the amount of effort that I go into when I make my products. Like I don't just slap shit together, and I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do is very labor intensive. So that's why some people will go. I've had a couple people go, "Aren't your prices a little high?" And I'm like, "Not for what I sell. If you compare my prices compared to other people's products, my prices are mid low, right? But I make it all. I make it all. I don't have other people make it for me, and I just repackage somebody else's stuff. Those are my recipes. Those are my blends. I make those. So next time I order, I mean, sales have just been really down, so it's been hard to replenish my stock. Right? If sales are down, I don't have money to replenish. I had a lot of stuff in my inventory. A lot of the herbs that you're seeing in my inventory, people requested. Like people say, "Hey, if you get these herbs," and then they didn't buy them. So I've got hundreds of dollars of herbs that I purchased for people who said they wanted them, but when I got them ready and got them packaged, then they didn't want them apparently. So it hurts when I try to accommodate people. Like I'm trying to be helpful. They're trying to source herbs at a reasonable price. They don't want to buy pounds of it, and so I'll include it in my inventory, and then they don't buy it, and it's like, well, I don't do it again either. Like if you've done that to me once, I'll never do it again. Like you get one chance at that. And the first time you do that to me, that's it. I'll never order for you again. No, you're not one like that, Sarah. You're very consistent. When you say you want something and I get it in, you do your part, right? From my perspective, it's a business transaction. I did my part, right? I purchased the item, so I put my neck out. I packaged the item, I labeled the item, I had to create the label, and then I have it listed at a reasonable price, and then the people don't buy it, and it's like, well, what the fuck, you know? All right, so we got 9 more minutes for the cake. Everybody knows how to test a cake, right? For you newbies who've never baked, this is how you test a cake. You use a toothpick. This is your best. Now, the reason why a toothpick works, it's the best way to test it. This isn't really smooth. I mean, it kind of feels smooth, but it has ridges on it, okay? So when we're ready to test it, you're going to take the toothpick and you're going to stick it in the thickest part of the cake. Like you're just going to stick it in there and pull it out. If there's anything left on it, like if it comes out and it's kind of gooey, the cake is not ready yet. Put it back in the oven. Typically speaking, this cake usually takes about 25 minutes to cook, to be fair. I've cooked this dozens of times. This is my favorite cake recipe. It's about the only cake I really make anymore. I do a yellow cake. I've done a chocolate cake with a peanut butter frosting. I considered doing brownies with a peanut butter frosting, but I know I wouldn't eat them. Like I could do it. Like I could make it easily enough. I know how to make peanut butter frosting and how to do all that. But I know I wouldn't eat it, so it'd be kind of wasteful. I'd have to, find somebody that'd be willing to buy a batch of brownies. Took brownies to work, and I gave some away to some of my work acquaintances, and they're like, "These special brownies?" I'm like, no. Everybody asked me if it was special. Like, no, man. What makes you think they'd be special brownies? Herb guy, get it? Herb guy. Wrong herb, dude. Let's see. When we didn't have a toothpick, we would use a stick from a broom. Yeah, clean it off well enough. That'll work. You could even use a fork, but that leaves 4 holes instead of just one. So, and if it's still like not cooked all the way, the fork might pull out like a chunk, like a plug. So, bamboo skewers work well too. If you have the bamboo skewers for like making the I can't even think of the name of them. Oh my god, that cake smells good. It smells really good. Now in a 9x6 in a 9x6 pan, this cake is actually pretty thick for a cake. Um, you could make 2 of them, and then you could frost the top one, and then put the other on top and frost it. Have a double layer cake. I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work and a lot of frosting. That's way too rich. I couldn't do it. Um, I have what I need to make whipped cream topping, but it's not as good. and it's harder to deal with. Like, it doesn't last for days on end when you make it from home. I don't know what they put on it when you get it at Walmart, but some sort of preservative in there that keeps it from breaking down. I'm assuming. I'm assuming that's what it is. It's some sort of preservative. We're at 6 minutes. I really want it to be done. I hate waiting. That's the worst part of baking, is the waiting. When you see this cake, though, you're going to be like, oh, wow, this is really, really, it looks really good, at least. This is like, my mom gave me this recipe. Once she gave me this recipe, then I started making it, and I was like, wow, I've had this recipe probably 20 years, and let's see, I've had it about 20 years, and I haven't really shared it with very many. You guys would be the first that I've really shared it with. I mean, I put it on it's on my website, like the recipe's on my website, but I don't think I have the frosting. And Cindy, there's Sarah. There's Cindy. So the cake is in the oven, and just so you know, Cindy, you can come back at any time and watch this. I don't know if it'll post immediately after it's done, but um, I know that by tomorrow it'll be up and posted, and by then I'll actually have it. But I think you're a patron too, so I put this recipe up on Patreon, and it's up on my website. So if you actually want the recipe for it, and I think you guys watched me make this once. I think I did this once on a TikTok live too. But TikTok has gotten so bad. I don't even really. It's very frustrating. Apparently, I did. I can't complain too much. Apparently, I won one of their contests. Well, I didn't win it, but I was one of the other people that was in it that kind of won. And so I won like $200. So that's not bad. Nice little Christmas bonus. But compared to what they had been paying me in previous months, it was still a significant drop in what they normally do. But a lot of creators, I guess, have had this issue. A lot of creators on TikTok are having real issues with them. They don't want to pay out, but they're sure more than happy to take a lot of people's promote money. Here, spend money to get more views. And I'm not that view hungry, to be fair. You're either going to come watch it and share it, or you don't. And if you don't, well, if enough people don't watch it, then I'll just quit making videos. It really is that simple. I'm not going to pay money to have people come watch my stuff. I shouldn't have to, really. Ooh, that cake's almost ready. Now you're going to see when I tell you that it really rises. You're going to see what I mean, because you remember how you can go back to the video later, but you remember how low it was in the pan. Well, with the vinegar and the baking soda in it, they activate really well together, and it creates a very light and fluffy. It's a really light and fluffy cake. Think of the texture of the original ho-hos. Like if you remember the original ho-hos or ding dongs. Was it ding dongs? Ding dongs were the cupcakes, right? Think of the texture of the bread of the original, not that junk they sell now, but the original texture of that. That's what it's like. Tastes better too. Okay, we're down to 3 minutes. The smell is driving me nuts. Kind of want to test it now, but it hasn't been 25 minutes, so I gotta be patient. 41 minutes I've been live. 43 minutes and 46 seconds I've been live. We have to do everything completely different. This isn't on my phone, it's on my computer. And it's such a pain in the ass to set my computer up for this, because I have to set up my camera, which is here, and my microphone, which is over there. And then, of course, my computer is back over there, but still have enough counter space to do an instructional video. So it's a little frustrating. It's not quite as seamless as a lot of YouTube instruction videos. Luckily, my followers don't care. So, I think we're down to like 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 3 seconds. I was close. Not that I'm impatient. I just want that cake to be done. So, I'll show you the frosting again. See, I'll turn it down a bit. The frosting again is it's thickened up a bit. See how it's got more of a peanut butter kind of consistency. That frosting is really tasty, though, just so you know. Now I add the coffee to the frosting too. The coffee is going to activate the chocolate just as much as it does in the cake. So with the liquid recipes in the cake, it's a half a cup of milk and a half a cup of coffee. Um, the original recipe, mom's recipe, called for water, and I found out about coffee about, I don't know, 15 years ago, a few years after I got her recipe. And I was like, I wonder if I switched to water with coffee, what would happen? And I did, and it was like, oh, never going back. Got to have that coffee, or it's just not chocolate cake. I don't know if I'm going to do it tomorrow, but this week I will be doing a homemade hot cocoa because it's hot cocoa season, right? But it's a super healthy hot cocoa that you can drink every day, and it would be great to help with stem cell production. Like, yeah, does everybody know what stem cells are? Anybody? All two of you? You're the only two that are here. Everybody else is probably still over on TikTok, doom scrolling. I will not be a slave to TikTok. Just saying. I mean, realistically, they're the only ones that pay me. But since they've dropped their pay by more than 50%, I don't really have a lot of loyalty for that. Oh. All right. Our cake is done. All right, let's set up the camera so you can see the cake. All right, there we go. And that's what the cake looks like. Look at that. Doesn't that look yummy? There. That's what it looks like when it's all done. And see how much it filled the pan? You see how wide the pan is, 2-inch high. It's filled it almost, I really don't want to grab that, but there, it's filled it almost to the rim. You can kind of see. That's what that cake looks like when it's done. Doesn't it look really yummy? Let's see if you look at it this way. There it is right there. Sorry, I'm trying. There. Anybody think that looks yummy? Anybody? Now, we really want this to cool off fairly quickly. So you can do one of two things. You can put it in the refrigerator, which will cool it off quick, or you can take it outside. Now, here in this particular instance, I'm going to take it outside because it's like 12 degrees outside. So that's going to cool it off a little bit. Give me a second to go outside and set this down. And I'm fairly certain with it being as hot as it is, we're only going to let it sit out there for about 10 or 15 minutes. Just enough to cool it off. All you damn cats. Turn you into a hat. Quick. You get away. Get. My cats are ruining my insulation. It's not much of insulation, but it's all I have. So I took it outside. It's like, I think 16 degrees out. So we're going to let it sit out there for about 10 or 15 minutes. Because, again, I don't want to sit here for 3 hours doing this. I still have to get ready for bed. Oh, I got to plug in my computer, though. That I know. Or our lives are going to die in the middle. There we go. Computer was unplugged. So the house smells amazing. It smells like chocolate. We have our frosting that we're waiting for. And leave that cake out there. Let's see, what time is it? It's 7:10. So at 7:20, we'll go ahead and go grab it. And then we'll bring it back in. No, you've already been fed today, and you are more than hefty enough. You don't need any more calories, dude. Go chase a mouse or something. I love my cat, don't get me wrong. He's just big. He's become quite the lap cat too. So like every time I have to I have to like keep an eye out when I go to sit down somewhere, because if I go to sit down somewhere, he automatically thinks, "Oh, lap to sit in." And he didn't used to be a lap cat, but once I started sitting in the living room, he decided that he was going to start sitting in my lap. So now every chance he gets, he's in my lap. It's like, don't get me wrong, I like the attention, but sometimes it's inconvenient. Like if I'm cooking something, because I have to get up every 5 minutes, then he's got to jump down, and he got to jump back up. Nobody has any questions? Like now would be a good time to ask any herb questions while we're waiting for the next 10 minutes. Otherwise, we're just going to sit here staring at each other. I'm going to be staring at a camera, and they're going to be staring at me staring at a camera, which seems counterintuitive. Oh, let's go away. Let's see how our video's doing. See on YouTube. I did my video on YouTube that I did yesterday was homemade sauerkraut. That one didn't do bad. It hit 1,400 views, and for YouTube, that's a lot. Like I don't get that many views a lot. And then I did the Captain Morgan one, which hit 1,600 views. But my 7-Up was an antidepressant isn't doing so well. It only has 27 views. But it's Sunday night. Don't get a lot of views. People are probably watching football.
High blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, and other risk factors can quietly stress the kidneys.
Somebody said they wish the lithium was still in it. 7-Up used to have lithium in it. 7-Up wasn't always. It wasn't made to be like a soda pop that you drink at the soda store or whatever, right? It was labeled as a how would you call it, a feel good drink, right? And because it had lithium citrate in it. Now I don't know if you know anything about lithium, but lithium is currently used as a psych drug. Like it's an antidepressant, it's a mood stabilizer, right? Especially for people who have really violent mood swings, they'll use lithium. Um, that's like the step before Thorazine. But lithium, you're kind of like a robot too. So I mean, that one's doing better. It's doing better on TikTok than it is on the other platforms. So that's good. Look, these platforms don't like me talking about like natural antidepressants, or they don't want to hear shit like that, right? Their biggest advertisers is Big Pharma. Like, so they don't want to hear those kinds of videos. So if you guys don't share them, they don't get shared, to be fair. Like if you don't share, like actively share, like Sarah does, then it doesn't get shared. Help the bladder. Uber Ursi's good for that. Yeah. Yeah, they don't notify like quite like they do on TikTok. I don't have the following yet. I'm getting there. I'm at 5,500 followers I think here. And some people think that's not a lot, but comparatively that I've stuck around long enough to garner 5,500 views rather than just giving up by now. A lot of creators would have given up by now. I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years on this platform. So, that kind of stinks of dedication. We got about 6 more minutes, and we're gonna go bring our cake back in. Now it will shrink when you get it cold like that. It will kind of flatten a bit, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be super thick the whole time. Sunday nights are bad nights to publish, but you have to publish you got to keep a daily presence on these platforms, especially like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok, whether you get the views or not. Um, you have to still be present and show up. It's kind of like a job that way. I don't do videos every single day though. Usually I'll take Tuesdays off. Like I'll do a video tomorrow. The video tomorrow, what video am I doing tomorrow? Tomorrow is going to be mindset. tomorrow's a mindset, and 2 different things you can do to change your life to help with your mindset. That seems to be a big query. People are feeling kind of lost in a way. So I'm going to give a couple of options that you can do. It don't cost any money. Like, you don't have to buy any subscriptions or any of that. These are 2 things you can just do some research on. So it talks about how your mind, it literally is a mind over matter type of with everything, whether it's medical conditions or stress, or a lot of it is mind over matter. Uva, UVA, ursi, URSI, uva ursi. It's a plant. It's a shrub. Actually, it's an ornamental shrub. In some cases, you can find it at a local nursery and grow it in your yard. Just harvest the leaves or the berries as needed. Uva ursi. Another name for it is bearberry, but I don't call it that. It's uva ursi. Mix that with some dandelion. It's a pretty good tonic. Maybe throw some goldenrod in there. I don't talk about it a lot. Excuse me. I don't talk about it a lot. It's not a super well-known herb. Hey, how are you, Sweet Life Russ? Here, I'll put it in the comments so you can see. There you go. That's what it is right there. Now you can copy and paste. It's not a real expensive herb. Like, it isn't. The leaves are very heavy. So the leaves kind of resemble like mistletoe leaves. They have kind of a similar shape and thickness. You're better off getting the leaves whole and then chop them up, but it can be a little hard to find. Like, some herbs anymore. Herbs that were easy to find 10 years ago aren't necessarily so easy to find now. So that's why my website's a little bit different, because I carry herbs that are more hard to find. I have some of the more obscure herbs. Let's see, what are a couple? We got Bacopa monieri, we got Tribulus terrestris, got yohimbe bark, right? These are all herbs that I can't really talk about on these platforms, but I sell them on my website. It makes it kind of hard, right? Because I can't really talk about it first because it'll get suppressed. But I'm either going to do mindset, or I'm going to do liquor as a remedy. Like hard liquor, but only some of them, not all of them. But again, I gotta keep my hooks in such a way that's going to attract people to watch. So my hooks might seem a little out there sometimes, but that's just because I kind of have to get them out there sometimes. Otherwise, people won't stop to watch the video. And there's no point in doing the videos if nobody's stopping to watch them. Yeah, then go with uva ursi. Denise, just go with uva ursi and leave it at that. That is the botanical name too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's uva ursi. Well, it's like Arctostaphylos or something. Arctostaphylos uva ursi. Uva ursi is the basic name. The Arctostaphylos would be like the species specific, like, when you have different apples, like a golden crisp. It's similar to that. Yeah, it's one of the other common names. I've had people ask me, do you carry bearberry? And it's like, no, not really. You could grow them. I'd like to find one at a local nursery and have one in my yard, because it's a great bladder tonic. It's good for, they use it for UTIs. They use it to help tone the kidneys. It's a diuretic, but it doesn't flush like minerals. Like, you don't lose your potassium like you typically do with chemical diuretics. Chemical diuretics will flush your potassium out, and they make you dehydrated. So whereas when you use natural diuretics like dandelion or burdock or chicory or any of the others, uva ursi, alfalfa, oat straw, any of those, they're not going to remove your potassium. In fact, they'll leave minerals behind, while simultaneously flushing out the excess fluid that your body just doesn't need. So makes it kind of nice. Good for bloating. And, you get swollen limbs and stuff from excess fluid retention. It helps to get it out without depleting any of your nutrients that you need. So, 10 minutes. All right, let's go check our cake. Right. So now it's out there. I can touch it. There's the cake. As you can see, it didn't really shrink at all, did it? So, got snow on it though. Well, what was left of the snow. So now we're going to frost it. Now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. I'm going to cover it, and then I'll put it in the refrigerator. So the heat from, because it's still warm. Don't get me wrong. It didn't cool it, but it cooled it enough that I can put this frosting on. Then I'm going to put it in the fridge so it doesn't continue to melt the frosting. I don't like super thick frosting on mine. Sometimes I'll let my cake set for an hour or two, and what that'll do is it'll kind of put like a light crust on the cake, which gives it a little crunch or a little crisp when you eat it. I don't know. Maybe you don't like that. I like that. If you leave it set for a little bit, there you go. One homemade chocolate cake. With frosting. What do you think? Oops. Oh my God. There we go. There. Jesus Christ. Why can't I get this right? There we go. That's what it looks like. I know it's kind of messy, but I'm not a baker. I'm an herb guy. I'm not a baker. Anyway, does it really matter what it looks like once I've eaten it? Not really. So I'm going to take this. We're going to put it in the fridge. I'm going to probably leave it in there until bedtime. And then I'll pull it out and cover it. If you put it out and you cover it with like foil or whatever, or an airtight lid, that's going to keep it moist, and the cake, that's going to be a super moist cake. I'm not going to eat any tonight because it's supposed to be my dessert for the week. You want this? But that was it. That was all it took. That was really good. So I'll tell you what. Once you're done with this live, look on my channel here. I just posted a video on 7-Up. Share it. Watch the video, watch the whole thing, and then share it because the views on it are really down. And I have a feeling it's because they don't like the content. Because, 7-Up as an antidepressant. Maybe, probably. It's probably the same. Yeah, I think it's the same one. That's okay. You can come back here later. Probably not until tomorrow because this has to process and upload and stuff. But I'll edit the description, and in the description, I'm going to put the full recipe, both the recipe for the cake, how to bake the cake, and then I'm going to put the full recipe for the frosting and how to make the frosting. That way you have both recipes, and the frosting recipe can be used on it's frosting, you can use it for anything, so it doesn't have to be used specifically for this cake. But once you make this, if you make it this way, using the cacao instead of the cocoa, you'll notice a huge difference in the cake, like the flavor and everything. It's really, really good. It's like eating gourmet chocolate. So that's what I would recommend. Bake the cake and then come back and let me know what you think. Tomorrow or today, I'm going to try to do it tonight. If it lets me edit tonight, I'll go ahead and put the recipe in. That way, when it uploads and the live is available for you to view, you can just copy and paste the recipe that way. So thanks for all 4 of you who showed up. And we will do this next Sunday. I might shoot for 6 again. I get it. It's football season, but I don't watch football, so I don't care. We'll do brownies next weekend. I know we did brownies last week on TikTok, but that wasn't saved. So we're going to start doing some baking stuff and cooking stuff on Sunday nights that we do lives on YouTube. We'll start doing it on YouTube so it can be saved. I don't want to do just herb stuff. Like maybe next week we'll do a lotion. Yeah, next week we'll do that means I have to make 2 batches of lotion. Next week we'll do lotion. We'll do a lotion next week. And we'll do because I'm out of lotion and it's winter, so it works for your skin and your cuticles and all that. So we'll do a really simple. So that's what next week. Next Sunday we'll start it at 6 again, 6 Eastern Standard. So just do the math if you're on a different part of the time zones. But we'll do how to make an easy lotion. There's only going to be 3 ingredients. So I'm also going to do that as a video on TikTok this week, but it'll be a video short, and so it's only going to be a 1 minute, maybe 1 minute, 15 seconds on how to make a lotion. Whereas we'll do it live. It'll take about 45 minutes and I can give you all the little nuanced stuff to it and make it more of a you lotion. Oh, you got here just in time I'm getting ready to call it a night, Mitchell. But I was just saying we're going to be live again because I started at 6. Well, kind of. But we're going to go live again next week at 6. And next week we're going to do a lotion. So, well, as a consolation prize, I did a post on Patreon on medical conditions for traumatic brain injury. And I did that particular, it wasn't a video, it's a post. But I really did that for you. Like I did that particular post for you. So if you go over to Patreon, you'll see that that it's there in the medical conditions. Right. I did start earlier because I had to make frosting. I'm sorry. But it's a lot easier for me than trying to slam a bunch of stuff right before I have to get ready for work tomorrow, and it's going to be cold. And I just don't want to deal with all that crap. So, and we do it this way. If you miss it, so what? You can come back and watch it later. But oh, I understand, Mitchell. Just go over to Patreon. I made something just for you. It's essentially just for you. And next week we're gonna make a lotion. We'll make just a regular hydrating lotion. Keep your skin from getting all ew and gross. But all right, you guys take care. I will see you next Sunday. I think. Let's hope.